I know I haven't made a video in a while, but this is going to be me talking about my anxiety story. I got the idea of this from watching a lot of BuzzFeed, and right now they're doing a mental health awareness week where they make a bunch of videos about different mental health, and it gave me the idea of sharing my personal story with anxiety. So I'm going to jump right in here. I want to start from the beginning, where when I was younger, I was always a little anxious, but I didn't know that's what it was. I had a lot of nervous tics. Things like constantly clearing my throat because I thought, like, it felt like something was in it all the time. Washing my hands before every single meal. Always had to sit next to the window in the car. Had to do everything in even numbers. I don't know. Just things like that. And I brought it up to my mom, and she helped me. She did help me, but it was like in a tough love way. At the moment, I hated her for it. I couldn't take pills, so whenever I went to the doctors and I needed a medication for anything, they would say we have a pill form and we have a liquid form. Which one would you like? I, of course, wanted the liquid. My mom would make me get the pills because she knew I was afraid of it. At the time, of course, I hated her for it, but now I'm really glad that she did it because now I can take pills, things like that. All these little nervous tics started when I was younger. I wouldn't eat a lot, which was tough because I'm already pretty thin, and so not eating a lot caused problems for my weight, and I became underweight. I needed to drink protein shakes and stuff to try and help me gain weight. Things like that. So that's where it started, but it was never really like, I didn't have panic attacks, anything like that. It was just a little bit of anxiety as a kid. My first real flare-up happened after I got the flu my sophomore year of high school on Christmas break. After getting that flu and getting sick, every single day for like the next year, I had daily panic attacks. I had to leave class to go to the bathroom to try to calm myself down. I just always felt super sick to my stomach, and just like I had the flu all the time, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was anxiety. I didn't know it was panic attacks. I just knew I felt awful all the time. And I brought it up to my mom. We were like, oh, it's anxiety. And so I didn't go to the doctors or anything, but we did things. My mom taught me things because she also struggles with some anxiety. She told me, like write things down on a piece of paper and tear it up, things that I'm worried about, and tear up that piece of paper, which did help me a little bit. I would be tough on myself, kind of like the tough love that my mom did for me earlier on in life, where if I felt like I needed to go to the bathroom to calm down in the middle of math class, I would not do it. I would not go unless I absolutely had to, or if friends wanted me to hang out and I didn't want to because I was anxious about it, I would force myself to go anyways. I might not have that great of a time, but I felt better about myself because I didn't let my anxiety hold me back. So through these methods that I taught myself, I got myself through it, and it was really hard, but I eventually started to get better, having less panic attacks, and then eventually I would say back to normal, back to whatever my normal was. As if it hadn't happened, I wasn't feeling sick every day, and I felt better. And then my second flare-up happened after I got the flu freshman year of college. And so it was the same kind of thing. I was always feeling sick. I was having constant panic attacks. I was like, I thought I got rid of this. It was so frustrating because I thought after that episode in high school I was done and I was better. And then to have it come back was horrible. In the middle of college, I was missing work. I was skipping class. And it was so hard for me. And then I noticed the pattern where it was the flu that was getting me to this point, and I realized that it was my fear of throwing up, which I knew I always had a fear of throwing up, but when I talked to my family about it, it was like everybody doesn't like throwing up, like nobody likes it, you're just overreacting. And I was like, oh, okay. But then I came to the realization that I actually have emetophobia, which is the phobia of throwing up. And now realizing I had this phobia really helped me realize what a phobia actually is, because a lot of people just throw that word around saying they have the phobia of heights or the phobia of spiders because they don't like spiders because they're creepy and gross and they want to run away from them. They don't like heights because they don't want to fall and hurt themselves. I don't like either of those things. But now that I have a legit phobia, I know that I don't have a phobia of those things, because a phobia is an irrational fear, which you know is irrational, but you can't stop it, and it literally runs your life. Everywhere I go, I'm always thinking, like, what if I get sick here? What if I feel sick while I'm here? What will I do? Where will I go? How will the people around me react? Like, it's constantly on my mind and is in the back of my mind with every decision I make. Just like if you have a legit phobia of spiders, you're constantly worrying about spiders being at your friend's house or something like that. Like, it's so irrational and you know it is, but it's still there. So that really helped me come to the realization of what a phobia actually is. Realizing that I had this phobia made me realize why I did a lot of the nervous tics that I did as a child. I wouldn't eat certain tough foods like steak and Slim Jims because I was afraid of choking on them. I didn't want to swallow pills because I was afraid of choking on them. And I was always clearing my throat because I didn't want to choke on something, because I know that when you choke, most often you throw up to get it out. I always washed my hands before meals because I didn't want to get the flu. I didn't want to get sick. I always sat next to the window in the car because I grew up in a big family where a few of my siblings would get car sick sometimes, and I thought that if I was next to a window, I had less of a chance of being next to the person who got car sick than if I sat like in the middle of two people. Things like that, where like sometimes I didn't think this fully through as a kid when I said like, oh, I want to sit next to the window, but that was the underlying reason, which I came to the realization of after realizing that I had emetophobia. Now, I had come to the realization that I had emetophobia and that my emetophobia fed into my anxiety and vice versa, because when I have a panic attack or feel anxious, I feel sick to my stomach. And so if I feel at all sick to my stomach, that's usually my trigger. So I could feel like even a little crampy, like even, and my brain automatically is like, whoa, like, did you eat something bad? Did you get the flu? Are you like, did you get food poisoning? I don't know. Like, my brain just automatically is like, is this going to make you throw up? Oh my gosh, I'm going to throw up. And then I start to feel nauseous. And then because I'm nauseous, I start to get anxious about feeling nauseous. And because I'm anxious, I start to feel nauseous because I'm anxious. And it's like a never-ending cycle. And realizing that did help, but it didn't make it go away. It still happened even to this day. And so I went through trying out my old methods of writing things down and things like that, and this second time around it just was not getting the job done. It was not helping. And so I started trying to take vitamins that you can just get over the counter that are supposed to help with anxiety, like St. John's wort, and like things that are supposed to help just with a better mood. And those also just weren't helping me, so I finally gave in and decided it's time to go see a doctor. So I went to the doctors and explained my situation, and we started on my long journey of trial and error with medications. My doctor was just my primary care physician. She wasn't a specialist in anxiety or anything like that, so we basically just found medications that help other people with anxiety and tried them, and then if they didn't work that much, we would up the dosage, and then if they still didn't work, we would wean me off of it and then try another medication, and so on and so on. And it was so frustrating because I went through, up till my freshman year of college, I went through this whole time fighting by myself with this anxiety, and now that I had a name for it, and now that I was at the doctor's for it, I just had in my brain that like it'd be an easy fix, like I was like, oh, a lot of people have anxiety, so I should just be able to go to the doctors and they'll be like, here you go, and I'll be all better, I'll be normal again. But that was not the case at all. And I went through a lot of that. We did a blood test to make sure there was nothing wrong internally, found out I had a slight low thyroid, not even low enough to the point where they typically wouldn't medicate for it, but they figured that while they were trying to find out what was causing my severe anxiety, that we would try and see if the thyroid would help. So they put me on a thyroid medication. But what was weird about the thyroid is that low thyroid typically has the symptoms of depression and weight gain, whereas high thyroid typically has anxiety and weight loss. I had the symptoms of high thyroid, but had the low thyroid. So he put me on the low thyroid medication about a week or a week and a half into being on that medication, as well as whatever anxiety medication I was trying at the time. I was staying the night in my boyfriend of the time and my fiance now, Joey's dorm room with his roommate Ben, and we were all just hanging out and stuff, and we were just talking, and all of a sudden I just started having extreme panic attacks, and they just wouldn't stop, and I felt so bad because Joey knew about my anxiety, and Ben knew, I think I'd mentioned it, but he had never seen me like this, and so it was very weird, and I felt really bad because it was late at night, and he was trying to go to bed, and I couldn't, I was shaking uncontrollably, I was so sick to my stomach, I kept making trips to the bathroom, and I didn't know what to do with myself, I couldn't calm down. And Joey was so worried because I never had a panic attack this badly in my life, and he thought he was going to have to take me to the hospital. We weren't even sure if it was a panic attack at the time. And so after that, it went on through most of the night. I got no sleep, missed class the next day, missed work the next day. Called my doctor and was like, I don't think these thyroid meds are working, so he took me off of those. Then we decided to, on top of trying all the different medications, figuring none of them seemed to be working very well, we were going to get me into counseling as well. So I was pretty alright with this. Most of my family has been through counseling for one reason or another, and I had never been. So I was like, I'll give it a go. And so I went into counseling, and when they do their little, observation of you, I don't know, this lady just talked to me to try and figure out who was going to be a good fit for me out of their staff. And then I found out that they paired me up with a girl who was still in college and was in training, and she was in training to be a family and marriage counselor. To me, I was like, what does this have to do with me and my anxiety? I just felt so frustrated at this point because I was like, I've been just going through trial and error of all these different medications that are doing all these weird things to me, and nothing is working, and now you're pairing me with not even a real counselor. And I was so frustrated, but I decided to give her a chance, and thank God I did, because the counselor they paired me up with, she really helped me a lot. She taught me to stop hating myself, which is a very easy thing to do when you have a mental illness like this. Any kind of mental illness, it's so easy to blame yourself because it's all in your head. And that's what people always say to you, and that's what you always say to yourself, and it is in your head. But that doesn't make it any less real. And so you begin to blame yourself and think that it's something you're doing wrong, and that you are just overreacting, or that it's not real, all these things. And you start to blame yourself, and you start to hate yourself and be like, why am I like this? Why can't I just stop like a normal person? Because it's not on the outside, you can't see the problem, so it's so easy to just put the blame on yourself, and that's what I was doing. I was hating my anxiety, I was hating myself, and so she taught me to stop hating myself, and to stop hating my anxiety, because anxiety has a purpose, just like depression has a purpose. All these emotions we have are there for a reason, and anxiety is really important in your life to be anxious about certain things. It keeps us safe. But my anxiety was just out of control, and it was just trying too hard to keep me safe because it thought that I couldn't handle it on my own. And so my anxiety was trying to help me, but it's working too hard, and I just needed to take that burden off of my anxiety and put it onto myself and stop hating my anxiety, because it was only trying to help me, just kind of going the wrong way about it. But that right there helped me a huge amount, as well as I think getting onto one of the better medications I had tried so far as well. All of it combined really got me on my feet. And that's the point where I'm at now. After that, I moved from New Hampshire to Georgia. So I don't have a counselor at the moment because of money issues. I'm still on the same medication I was on at the time. I haven't seen a doctor about it, but it definitely is helping me more than anything I've tried before. Do I think I still have a lot of growing to do? Yes. Do I still have panic attacks? Yes. Do I still have anxiety? Yes. But it's not running my life anymore. It's not, and I'm not as afraid of it as I used to be. I'm not trying to avoid situations that may cause me anxiety, like the move here. We drove over halfway across the country, me and my fiance and my dog, and my counselor was like, are you worried about this? Are you worried about having panic attacks on the way there and all this stuff? And I was like, yes, but I'm excited and I know that I can get through it, and I'd be lying if I said it was easy. The drive here was awful. I halfway through the drive just started having severe panic attacks and had to take my panic attack medication, which makes me extremely drowsy, which meant that Joey had to drive most of the way, which he doesn't like driving on a regular basis. So having to drive in the middle of the night in who knows where we were, I felt so bad, but he was a really good support about it. And I'm going off on a tangent, but as of right now, I have less panic attacks and I can manage my anxiety on a regular basis. And I'm definitely far from the end of my journey with figuring out my anxiety and learning how to live with it, but I know that I'm headed in the right direction. So I hope that this video helps either you who might be struggling with anxiety or a different mental illness or anything like that, or maybe helps you understand what one of your loved ones or someone close to you is going through with anxiety or another mental illness. And don't think just because your story of anxiety doesn't sound like mine that there's something wrong with you or that it's not fixable, because when I would talk to my friends about my anxiety, be like, oh my gosh, my anxiety is so bad today, or something like that, my friends would be like, oh, I understand what you mean. I get really anxious before a big test or right before I go to a sports game I'm playing in or something like that. And in my head, I would think, that's not how I feel at all. Like, is that what anxiety is supposed to be? Because I get anxious for absolutely no reason and I feel ridiculous. And so then I started worrying, is this even anxiety? Is that what normal anxiety is supposed to be? Is there something that can fix me? Like, things like that. And so I don't want you to think that just because my story is different than yours, that yours is wrong or mine is wrong, because everybody's experience with anxiety or depression or bipolar or any mental illnesses, eating disorders, whatever it is different. And that's because we're all different and you can get through it. And I just wanted this video to hopefully help somebody out there feel like they're less alone, or to help them understand what it's like for those of us with a mental illness that is very real, but doesn't need to prevent you from living a good life. So thank you for watching. I will be trying to post a little more often. I know I've been slacking a lot. I've had a lot going on, but I will definitely try to get back on this, and I will hopefully be seeing you soon. Also, sorry if you can hear my dog whining this entire video, because he hates that he's in his crate right now so that they don't jump all over me, and is whining every time he hears my voice. Do you hear that? My lips make a heart.